Good. All right, guys, welcome back. Today is Tuesday, October 20th, and we hope you had a great fall break. We are back to being hybrid. So we look forward to seeing some of you today, and we'll see you tomorrow, and we'll see the rest of you Thursday and Friday. So we are going to bring you a lesson on unit rate today. And this is not in your folder, okay? So the easiest way to do this is if you guys will just go ahead and grab a piece of paper. It'll be a fairly short video. Unit rate is pretty easy. And most of our kids actually enjoy unit rate. It's useful in your real world and in your life. So grab a piece of paper, a pencil, and you can use a calculator for this. It will make your life much easier. So grab your phone, grab your computer or calculator, whatever you need. Okay.
So at this point right here, guys, we expect that you're pausing the video and grabbing that thing, okay? Because we'll look at this on Thursday when you come back in to make sure that you're following what we want you to do at home, okay? So don't just watch the video, actually write down what we're doing and so that you have something to go back and look at. So make sure you paused it, make sure you have your paper, pencil, and calculator.
All right, so before we can actually get into unit rate, there's three required skills that you need to be able to bring back up from younger grades to be able to do unit rate. Okay, so one of the very first thing, hopefully, you remember your rounding rules, but if not, we're going to go over them. Okay, so we're going to deal with place value first because we did that this year, so that should be fairly fresh on your brain. So in the number, I'm just making this up. Okay. In the number 3.57 or 3 57/100ths, you need to know what number is in the tenths place. That's very important because on some of these, with unit rate, they're going to tell you to round to the tenths. So, your tenths place, this is your ones, that's your whole. This is tenths, this is hundredths. Okay, so you've got to remember that from previous skills. So, if we were going to round this to the tenths place, okay, I always tell my kids, go ahead and underline the place that you're supposed to be rounding to. So if we're going to round to the tenths place, that's where we want to go. That's as far as we can carry out this decimal. So we circle the number next to it. And we've got to remember our rounding rules from younger grades. If this number is 5 or more, we bump this up. Okay? If it is less than 5, we leave it alone. So if it's 4, 3, 2, 1, 0, we leave it alone. So in this situation, this number in here is a 7. That number is bigger than a 5. So what we do is we bump this number up one more. So that becomes 1 more than 5 would be 6. So we round that number off to 3.6. We're saying that 3.57 is closer to 3.6 than it would be to 3.5. Okay? So another example of that is, let's do 5.24. We're going to the tenths place. We're going right here. Okay, we can't go any farther. So I've got to look at the number right next to it. This number, is it 5 or more? No, so we leave it alone. We round this to 5.2. Okay? That's the tenths place. Okay, if they ask you to deal with money, or rounding things to the hundredths, money only goes to the hundredths place. So let's say we're talking about, I don't know, let's do 7, 9. Let's say you do the math and you get a number like this. If you're dealing with money, okay, money goes out to the hundredths place. So you're going to go ahead and round to this. That's as far as money can go. All right? So we look at the number right next to it. Is that number 5 or more? It is. So we bump it up. So this 7 becomes an 8. So this would be $12.58 if we're dealing with money. Okay? Now, when you go to the store, and money is a big deal with our kids. They tend to, if you get a number like this, and it's money, they tend to say, well, it's 12.5. Okay, well, what is that in money? $12.50. So you have to just stick a little 0 in over here. And we're going to do some examples with you here in a minute to clarify some money situations, okay? But money goes out to the hundredths, and, that's something you need to know is hundredths and tenths places, okay? Do you think there's anything else we need to cover before we go?
I think we can move on and do unit rate.
Alright, let's roll. Alright, Mr. Winstead's gonna talk you through this problem, and I think you are, or am I do?
I can't imagine.
Mr. Winstead will do it.
Alright guys, so what we're gonna do today is we're gonna start a new skill. So we've been working a lot with ratios, and this week we had planned on moving on to unit rates and things like that anyway. It's one of our favorite things to do because it's easy, but it's actually useful. So what we have here is we got Jesus. He bought 3 pairs of jeans for $71.40. What he wants to know is how much does each pair of his jeans actually cost. Okay, so this is something you can do a lot. So we're going to show you a way to set this up and solve it. So there's 2 different things we're going to talk about here. The first thing we're going to talk about is a rate. So a rate, and then we're going to talk about a unit rate. Okay, so these are very useful to figure out how much something costs, or how much of one of something costs you. So first thing we got to look for is how much will he pay per pair of jeans. So Ms. Brewell did a great job here. She highlighted the word per. That's super important. That's what I'm looking for, because this right here tells me how to set up my rate. Now it says how much will he pay per pair of jeans, right? So pay comes first, just like in ratios. The first word that comes first is super important. That's what always comes first in our ratio, so that's what comes first in our rate. So how much will he pay? Well, the only thing about pay means money, so the only money we have here is $71.40. Okay? So, per pair of jeans. How many jeans did he buy for that? Well, he bought 3 pairs. Now this right here is what we call our rate. So that means if I want to buy 3 more pair, I have to pay $71.40 more. I want to buy 3 more pairs than that, I have to pay $71.40 again. So this is the rate of what we pay for 3 pair of jeans. Now the question is, we want to know how much am I actually paying for 1 pair of jeans. So a unit rate's a little bit different than a rate. A rate is just whatever the problem has and put in as a fraction. Now a unit rate is something special. A unit rate means how much are we paying for 1 unit of something. So what I want to know is how much am I paying for 1 pair of jeans. So an easy way to do this, and as a fraction, we've talked about this, a fraction bar just means division. So to find a unit rate, all you have to do is divide your rate, and you've got it. So the unit rate is always over 1. So how much is, I'm sorry, not 1 jean, 1 pair. So we want to know how much do we have for 1 pair. So all we have to do is divide. So if I take my calculator and I take $71.40 and divide it by 3, I get 23.8. Now, if you were paying attention a second ago, that's not money, because our money's on top, right? So that means this has to be money. So it's $23 and something. But we never see money as just 0.8. So it's always going to the hundreds place, so it'll be $23.80. So what that tells me is Jesus is paying $23.80 for 1 pair of jeans. So that's kind of nice, because I may not want to buy 3 pairs all the time. I may want to buy 1 pair and then another pair. So if I do that, I know I'm going to pay $23.80 for each pair of jeans that I buy. So this right here is all a unit rate is. Super simple. So look at your wording. The word per is super important because it tells you how to set up your rate. And if you want to know how much am I buying, or how much am I paying for 1 pair, all you got to do is divide the 2 with your calculator and you've got it. So hopefully that makes sense. We're going to do 1 more with you. Did I need to add anything to that before we move on?
No, that's good.
All right, last one. Andy drove 840 miles in 11 hours. How many miles did he drive per hour? So guys, this right here is something that you can actually use in a normal situation, like if you're going on vacation and you want to know, well, how long is it going to take me to get there? So you have to find, if I want to make it there in 11 hours, I got to know how fast I need to drive. So that's what we're kind of looking for. So the first thing we're going to look for is our rate. So if you look right here, Ms. Breedwell did another good job for us of highlighting the word per. That's what I want to know. So I want to know how far did I drive. So this right here is my miles. And how long did it take me? So hours. So the first thing, if I set up my rate, I put my miles first because it comes first, just like in a ratio. So 840 miles per 11 hours. So there's my rate. So if I want to know how much am I going to drive each hour so I can keep up with it, we need to find a unit rate, because like I said a second ago, a unit rate is always over 1. And in this case, it's 1 hour. So to figure out how far I'm driving each hour that I'm on the road, simply divide your rate. So 840 divided by 11 is 76.36363636. So here's what I've got. Now, if you read your problem, you know that that cannot be my answer, because it says round to the nearest tenth place. So 10th place is right here. That's where the 3 is at. So if you remember from elementary school, I've heard a lot of people say, 5 or higher.
Bump it up.
Man, I can't remember what it was. I had a signal just talking about. I forgot what it was
No.
now. No, it's 4 or lower. Let it.
5 or more, bump it higher. I don't remember.
4 or less. Let it rest. And I
Yeah.
can't remember what it was. But anyway, here's your 10th place. The 6th is obviously 5 or bigger, so we bump it up. So you have 76.4 miles per 1 hour.
Now, one thing I want to make sure that you all see that he did such a really good job doing is he labeled everything. Okay, so when you're writing these down, you need to label 840 what? Chickens, cows, turkeys, miles, what is it? 11 what? And if you notice, he's labeled the rate and he's labeled the unit rate. You should also notice for later on down the road, if miles are on top over here, miles are on top on this side. Hours are on the bottom, hours are on the bottom. Okay, so we are looking for these labels when you're doing this work.
So guys, that's all there is to unit rates. That's all we're going to ask you to do today. So if you had any problems, make sure you go back and watch the video. You all, if you're home today, you have a sheet to work on Canvas. As before you come back 100% face-to-face, there is a Google form that you must fill out for, so that lets us know that you do it. Now, you all have done a great job being here 100% face-to-face. We want to make sure you're continuing that work, so don't just be home not doing anything. At least try it. So all you're doing is 1 through 14 today, okay? 1 through 14.
That's the top section.
And there is a handout on there. Do that on a separate sheet of paper, enter it in a Google form, and you're good to go, okay? So look forward to seeing you guys again. Have a great week, and talk to you tomorrow.